We were born on a beautiful planet, but in our quest to make our lives more comfortable, we're slowly destroying it. Politicians have finally agreed that we must stop man-made climate change and cut carbon emissions. And in order to avoid a potential chain reaction of disasters, we must keep temperatures within 2 degrees of historic averages. But recent figures show that we're already close to that limit. If we're to leave a decent planet for our children, we need to decarbonise our economies much, much faster. Hi, I'm Robert Schrumpf, CEO and co-founder of Solar for Schools. Across the world, schools could avoid producing a whopping 50 million tonnes of carbon emissions a year by installing solar panels, the equivalent of removing 20 million cars from the road permanently. That in itself is impressive enough, but the additional savings from educating nearly 2 billion 5 to 19-year-olds around the world on how to live more sustainably, by enabling them to see firsthand how solar energy works, is even greater.
One of our strategic intents here really is about developing the children's responsibility for the environment and developing their understanding of sustainability in the broadest of sense. So having solar panels really is the start of that, not just about energy, but how we then encompass that in all of our curriculum.
Solar panels can go onto any roof where you've got use of electricity during the day, but what makes a school so special is that you do have that educational gain, and it's empowering young people to actually have that opportunity to have a say in their future and what it's going to look like.
I think every school in the country should have solar panels because it's renewable energy. A good thing about solar panels is that they're very clean and they won't harm the planet.
The big thing about education for sustainable development is it's motivational, and the knock-on effect for that with young people is that they feel part of their future. And I've seen children take over their learning, go beyond anything that you thought you were going to teach them, because once they're motivated and interested and excited, they go much further than you ever thought they were going to go.
We aim to provide the panels at no cost to the schools, as they're funded by investors who make sensible long-term returns while doing good for society. We provide the tools and support to help schools make a solar project happen, from determining the most suitable size to raising the finance. Once installed, we provide key educational support and look after the system on behalf of the school and investors for 20 to 30 years. In exchange, we receive a small percentage of the funds raised from investors for the solar panels and an ongoing share of the revenues for each system.
We wanted to be environmentally friendly and also to cut costs as much as we could. Solar for Schools will take out a lot of the hassle of a project of this type. You can only benefit. We're going to save money, especially in the long term.
Although Solar for Schools is just over a year old, we already look after systems on nearly 50 schools in the UK. We've just signed up our first kindergarten in our second country, Germany, and we're receiving over a dozen new inquiries from schools every week.
If you go to Solar for Schools website, you can have a look at the graphs of every single school that's got solar panels so far.
To help even more schools go solar, we need to develop our internet platform further. The goal is to build a trusted platform bringing schools and investors together everywhere. Think of Crowdcube, but for solar on schools.
I've been involved in venture capital and private equity for the last quarter of a century. In the instance of Solar for Schools, there does seem to be considerable scalability. This appears to me to be an extremely interesting investment.
We're always on the lookout for very promising companies that will have a demonstrable carbon reduction impact. After a full evaluation of the business, we decided to invest in Solar for Schools, and we contributed half of the round that they closed in December 2015.
Please join us to help build the online platform that could enable over 1 million schools globally to go solar.
And welcome back. We are speaking to Eddie Ranji. He is the CEO of the MobileMART Systems. And we're talking about green energy solutions this morning. And we just we talked a little bit about the AnyScope. Is that what it's called?
AnyScope, yes.
Yeah. And then we talked. Now you want to talk about solar in schools.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that project and why it's important.
When we talk about green energy, we are brought to it by climate change. Climate change is the topic that the whole world is talking about today. because if we don't address climate change and look for solutions, then things would get worse. I remember last year, it became cold until the end of August, which is not normal of Kenya, because it gets cold, yes, in June and July, and in August we are in summer, and we go down with the usual, hot climate that we are used to. But right now, we really cannot tell when it's going to rain, when it's going to be cold, when it's going to be sunny. And this is because of the climatic change. So in the green energy, we are busy there looking for solutions that are going to help us to change this climate so that it can get better like it was in the olden days. And we know why the climate changes, because we have many industries today than that we had in the many years ago. The population of the world is also growing. That means there is more consumer of services and products. But at the same time, if we don't address these issues, then they would affect the whole entire world in future. Now, we have what we call carbon footprints, and we all work towards reducing carbon footprints because they really contribute and quite affect. Companies today are actually getting carbon footprints points. So every company wants to go green. I mean, Conness, you receive an email, and it's not necessary to print that email. So why would you print it? You want to save on that paper. You want to save on that tree, because we know where the paper is coming from. So you just need to print when necessary. All right? That's one way. A very small thing, but you can imagine all of us in the whole world, if we didn't print that one paper that we didn't want to print, how much have we saved in it? Now, when we come back now to
we double printed.
Yes, or we double print so that you can save on that other extra one. Yeah. In energy, it's small things that actually make a very big difference, because it's been, multiplied with the many. Now, we have very many schools and institutions of higher learning. And these institutions also are connected to the grid and they use power. In the statistics that we have done in the last 6 months, we have learned that a boarding school today with 1,000 students and above spend about 250,000 Kenya shillings on electricity in a month. Some with 1,500 students go up to paying 300,000, 500,000, and some big schools like Mangu High, which basically has 2,500 students, spend to a tune of 700,000 shillings in a month. What can be done for schools to save on this? And when they're able to save on this, that means they can use that resources properly, be even feeding the children better, paying the teachers better remuneration. So we look for a package on how we can work. And as you have seen with the video, we work with our international partners who help us in the fund, because again, these are very expensive projects. We would not afford it on our own. So they would come in and they will help us, they will manage, and they will monitor what we are doing. So I give an example of how we would save in the Solar for Schools project, because not every enterprise is ideal for the any scope. Now, in the Solar for Schools, we would place panels on the roofs. And the schools are very well placed, like you saw in the video, where they have very good panels. So we would do what we call an off-grid or an on-grid or a tie-grid system to the schools, where the school would not really afford the batteries because the lithium batteries are very expensive. We would then put an on-grid system. That is just panels, laying them across the buildings in the schools, and then again connect them to the consumer unit of the school using the existing infrastructure and power the whole school. Here we are talking of reducing power bill to up to 80 or 70%. In a nutshell, and this is very interesting mathematics you want to do with me, a school that is spending 300,000 shillings in a month for power, we would connect a solar system that would cost about $50,000, say about 5 million. And that 5 million, because of the period in which we enter into what we call a PPA agreement with the school, which is a lease and own kind of an agreement, that means the school does not incur any cost at the point of installation. We would fit the entire bill of installations. And the school, when it comes on board, whatever we save, again, just like with the same idea with any scope, it is what they will actually pay on a contractual term of about 2 years or 3 years, based on their power load. And I'm telling you, in just 24 months, if a school is paying 300,000 for the project, it will no longer pay any other bill for electricity. And these are items, equipments, which have a warranty for 20 years. So it's only the first 2 or 3 years. From what they save is what they pay. And once they pay that for the 2 or 3 years, then they don't have any other bill.
What's the percentage saved?
80%. So if a school has a bill of about 500,000, and we put a system there that is worth 5 million, they would pay 300,000 shillings a month. For 24 months, they've paid plus that accumulated interest of that period of time. And for the next 18 years, that school is not going to pay any bill of that matter. The bill will drop down from a raving 400,000 to probably 20,000, 30,000. And this is on grid. How much power is used in a school in a day? We are looking at about 400 kilowatts in a day. That means a 30 kVA solar system is adequate with a school which has about 1,000 students in it. So, yeah. And the beauty is that because of the challenge of the initial setup, all right, we also work with local banks here which would want to partner with us, and they're very willing to work with this kind of a program. We would want as many schools to come on board as possible because we have the team of engineers who would install them. And our partners, like here in Kenya, we partner with MAN Truck, MAN Solar. We partner with Davis and Shirtlift, which have the equipment. Others, we also get them from out there, like China, have very good solar systems. So, and our team, and we will go and implement them. In a nutshell, it takes about 1 month to install in one school. So we cannot do so many at a go, but we are having a target of doing about 50 schools.
Have you done any?
2 years. Yeah, we have about 10 schools on board.
How's that working out for them?
Extremely good, extremely good. It's perfect, it's super, they like it, they're able to save it. Some schools actually say they don't want to enter into a PPA agreement, kind of a solution model. PPA is a power purchase agreement, you know, the lease and own, then they will prefer they buy it as one-off, which we are okay with that. That means from purchasing it, installing it, and commissioning, you start saving 80% of your power bill immediately on installation.
Yeah, tell me, is it difficult to say that there are hoops that you have to jump in trying to get solar approved, for you to get it at your school or your industry or something? Is that the case?
Well,
how difficult is it?
Well, it is difficult, but at the same time, you see, we are all working in terms of, remember our first topic here is climate change. So the government has not made it that difficult, let me say, as an entry point to get down to do the business. All what you need is the proper documentation to get into it. Actually, the biggest hurdle is the cost of it, the investments. Otherwise, everybody would want to get into it. But
everybody would want, yes.
Everybody would want to get into it.
Why is it so expensive to get into?
Yeah, because the infrastructure part of it is what makes it costly, the infrastructure. These solar panels, as you see them here, they're not really easy. And even the manpower to load them. I'm telling you, it takes about a month or 2 months to just install in one school.
You have to get it just right.
Yeah, you're talking about 360 panels in a school. It's like you've covered the entire roof. But the good about this, you will have reduced the carbon footprints with a very high mark by the point you're able to do that. I mean, it's Africa where we're now getting into this, and it really kicks me to find that Africa is where we have all the solar. You know, we have solar like almost every other day in a year.
Yeah, almost like
24/7. And let me tell you, the solar PAVIC cells don't even actually require like that light. They just require daytime, and they're working. Not really that sunny.
Really?
Yes, unlike the way you've seen that video with our partners in the UK, where it gets cold, then they need the batteries to store. But here in Kenya, we don't need even that batteries to store. We connect it to grid directly, and the light enough, 6 to 6, is enough to power the whole school for all through. A typical school will spend about 11,000 to 15,000 kilowatt hours in a month. So you're talking of about a 30 to 50 kVA, solar system. And for costing, it costs about $1,000 per kVA. So you can easily rate yourself and see how the mathematics works best for you.
Yeah.
And I can give you simple arithmetic. If you're using 11,000 kilowatt hours in a month, you multiply this by 20, and that will be the cost of your solar implementation.
Why is your program specifically targeting schools and not any other brackets?
Very good question. Very good question. We have a domestic package that I will share with you shortly, which uses a different technology for that. But schools have one very good advantage. They have the platform on where to lay the solar panels, the roof of the and the roof of the, administration block, and the roof of the classrooms makes it very good for all schools in Kenya to go green. You might have a hotel that will be interested, in going solar, but they don't have space for the solar panels because the panels will have to be as many as they are, You might have a supermarket that might want to go solar, but maybe it's in a building where up there it's residential, and on top there it's tanks, So they don't have, that's your kwao at the end of the day. But now the schools, the environment favors all schools to actually go green with solar. And this is where I appeal for them to actually engage where they can, if they can engage and they get it done as soon as possible. From any vendor who deals with the solar systems, this is a prime time for all schools to go green. Actually, we have no reason for any school not to be on solar at this point in time.
Yeah.
Yes.
People are always, imagining that, with going green, there must be some, what's it called? Are there any disadvantages with using solar energy, would you say?
Not as yet that has been identified today. The thing is that, again, systems fail at some point. And maybe you would be 100% on solar, and then for one reason or the other, there's a bit of no current that is flowing, and then you get a blackout. But it has a solution, because what we install is called a hybrid kind of a solar system. In the event that it does not operate, automatically it switches on to the grid, and the grid is able to supply the usual one.
But if you decided you don't want the grid, that would be also okay.
Yes, that will also be okay, and you will go off grid, and you will be very well supplied with it. But then if you didn't use the batteries for storage of it, then you find that at night you will not have something to power you. So you will still need the grid at that point. But if you have the batteries, you absolutely don't even need the grid, because at night the batteries is what will supply.
It will kick in, yes.
Yeah, but then the batteries make it expensive. The figure I'm giving you of 11,000 kilowatt hour to 15,000 kilowatt in a typical school, you multiply that.
That's a lot of power.
You multiply that bill by 20, it comes to about $50,000. From $35,000, it could go to $70,000. But that is tie grid, If you put batteries there, the cost will probably double. So what makes us able is that in the first 2-3 years contract with the school, we go tie grid. That means we are ready on solar. Then after that, because they are already starting to save, we can bring in the batteries later, so that first is procuring, the infrastructure. Then the batteries, we can actually bring them. There's that provision for that.
All right.
Yes.
We'll take our last break on that note. When we come back, let's talk about my house.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Not specifically, but
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
Like if I'm at home, does this work for me?
Yeah. What works for you in your house, right?
Right. Okay. We'll be right back after this message. Just don't go away.